Hello everyone, welcome back to PonyCam. Today I'm going to go through some old footage with you. This footage is from, I think, the end of May 2019. I'm not really sure why I didn't share it at the time. I think I genuinely just forgot. So I'm going to talk you through what we did in this lesson, and hopefully you'll be able to see how much has changed since this lesson almost a year ago. I really hope you can tell. First of all, I'll start by saying, look how enormous Magic is. He had clearly been enjoying the spring grass. He looks like a broodmare. Look at him. Look how wide my legs are on him. And that might also give you an indication of how difficult I was finding him to ride, because I was kind of perched on top of him. Instead of being able to wrap my leg round and get him to bend round my inside leg, I kind of couldn't because it was sticking out so far. So at this point Magic had been at the yard for about 5 months, so he still didn't have very much muscle, but he had gained quite a bit of weight, as you can see, and I was actually still really struggling to ride him. This was probably our 14th or 15th ride together, and I'd actually done quite a bit of hacking on him as well, so I hadn't done too much schooling on him at this point. I was still very much learning how to ride him and how to ride horses in general. I'd only ever ridden Herbie before regularly, and he was a schoolmaster, whereas Magic was very much not a schoolmaster. So I was certainly struggling to ride him as well, but we've come quite far together. He's now much better than he was here, and I'm also much better at getting him to go better. So both of us have improved. So you can see here, he's really not going too well at the moment. This is a slightly more active trot than there was right at the start of the lesson, as you saw. He's sticking his head out, looking like a banana/giraffe. He's sort of reaching down into the contact a little bit, but not consistently. There's only kind of moments of it, like there. He goes quite nicely, and then he sticks his head up again. And that's partly him not having the strength to be able to hold it. It is quite difficult for horses when they don't have the muscle to actually hold an outline. And it's also down to me actually not knowing how to keep him in an outline and how to ride him, because at this point I didn't know how either. So this is our first canter, and actually Magic tends to be a lot better after he's had his first canter. So we'll warm up in the walk and the trot, and he'll do a kind of average job. And then as soon as we've had a canter, he'll actually loosen up a lot more and be a lot freer, which is always a bonus. So now we've had that, hopefully you'll see, we're just having another canter in the other rein, hopefully you'll see how he sort of relaxes a little bit, but also uses himself a bit better. Instead of dragging himself along slowly, he comes through slightly more from behind. So this is our first canter on the other leg, so again, nothing too special, it's just a kind of warm up, hence why I only just do kind of half a circuit of the school and then stop. And we'll just do a little transition here. Not particularly good, but sort of square, so he gets a pat for that. And then a little reward, which is a stretch down, as a thank you for doing a nice little transition there. Really nice stretch, good boy Magic. So again, you can see he's also quite stiff. You might have noticed earlier in the video his head nodding ever so slightly, and that wasn't lameness, that was just stiffness. And actually, sort of, it took him about 20 minutes, 15-20 minutes before he really didn't feel stiff anymore. And he's not like that at all now. He now isn't really stiff in the slightest, which is really, really good. This is his better rein. You can see that after those little canters, he's already working a lot better. He's using his body a lot better. He's sucking in his tummy a little bit. And coming through slightly better from behind, which is really good, and just starting to lower his head for a little bit longer. I'm having to work quite hard there. It was a hot day as well, and yes, as you can see, he wasn't really feeling it. That's a much better canter. His canter is still extremely weak, but it is stronger than it was here. Here it was incredibly weak. He really struggled to turn at all in the canter. Reaching down a little bit there, which is really nice. He is now a lot better at doing that. Rubbish transition back to trot, but never mind, a nice pat for the canter. And there you go again, starting to look a lot better, using his body more correctly. Again, not for too long. He still can't hold it at this point. He has no muscle whatsoever, but he's starting to understand what I'm trying to ask him a bit more, and I emphasise trying because, again, I had no idea what I was doing, so please do excuse my riding, because looking back it is slightly cringeworthy to watch. Not that I'm much better now, but I think I'm slightly more effective now than I used to be. Again, quite a nice canter for him, quite active at least, which is good, and a slightly better transition down to trot there. He just tripped again there, you saw that. He's still not picking up his feet particularly well. He's tripped already a few times in this lesson just through sort of laziness and not picking up his feet, but never mind. Trotting poles, I think now. Yeah, coming down, nice active trot, ears pricked, that's good. That was quite a nice one actually. Good boy, Magic. And then this one, I rode him really badly and I held him back. I didn't push him on into the trotting poles. So we trip over that last one. That was completely my fault, so he gets a pat because he kind of had to get himself out of trouble there. Sorry, Magic. And then coming round on the other rein again, using himself a bit more nicely there. Around the corner as well, managing to stay in an outline for a little bit there. And fairly nicely over those poles again. Again, I wasn't really helping him out. He was having to sort of do it by himself. Canter poles, these are always quite funny. He liked to rush canter poles back at these times because he thought they were very exciting. Completely swerved around the corner at the end there. Basically I had no control. And I don't know if these are the canter poles again or another little jump, but again he's pulling a little bit here because he's just seen poles and he's just got a bit excited, and then drifting around the corner again. I am trying to stop him from drifting around the corner. Oh, bless him, he just caught the cone there and scared himself. Good boy though, he still jumped it, that was really good. Yeah, he really drifts around the corners before and after. You see here his hind quarters, they just drift in. The only way I can stop that is by moving my inside leg back. But when I move my inside leg back, I'm then very unbalanced because I'm so perched on top of him. So it really was quite difficult for me to ride him properly and for him to use his body properly, but never mind. Here we're trying to link two fences and we did a horrible tight turn there because I couldn't get him out into the corner. And again here, we were supposed to be going right out into the corner around that cone and I just couldn't get him to do it. He decided after the fence, he was like, nope, I'm going to turn to the right, you can't stop me. And he was right, I couldn't stop him. You know, as much as I put my leg on and use my reins, which I don't like to do, but I have to sometimes, he wasn't too happy about it. Here I really made him go around that cone. I was determined to make him do it, and we still cut the corner round to the second jump, but never mind. It was still better than the last time. That was good. He's not jumping too well today. Again, lack of muscle, we're carrying too much weight. He's just struggling. And a little pat. We had a little break in the middle, and I like to give my pony some cuddles. Whoever I'm on, if we have a break, they get a little cuddle. You see here, he is coming into this fence like a banana and he's sticking up his head in the air and he's opening his mouth, and that's not me pulling on his mouth. That is him pulling me out of the saddle. I'm not pulling him, he's pulling me. He wants to go too fast into the fence and he'll knock it down and scare himself, so I'm just trying to sit there nice and tall and just hold him together so that he gets a slightly better jump rather than letting him crash through it like he's hunting. Bearing in mind he'd only been hunting a few months ago prior to this, so that was still the kind of mode he was in. Just a little bit more trot and canter work here while my instructor sorts out the jumps. You see he's moving much better there, not too active a trot but still better than the beginning. And then we do a little triple, I think. Yep, there we go. That was actually very nice, and he stayed on the correct leg. Even though this is Magic's worst rein, he's actually better for bending in the canter on this rein, and especially jumping. He just finds it more difficult in general, but in terms of jumping and turning him, weirdly, this is actually a lot easier for him. And a nice pat, because that was actually very nice. And here, not a bad turn, but I thought I had a good distance and he decided to put on a little spurt of energy just before the jump there, and we got a bad distance because of it, but never mind. A bad turn at the end, but still a nice pat because he did do that well. And that was the end of the lesson, I think. So I've just put some pictures of his trot at the beginning of the lesson versus the end of the lesson. I have flipped a couple of the pictures so his markings might look a bit different, but it is the same horse and it is the same lesson. Hopefully you can see the difference, and the good news is that his trot at the end of this lesson is actually how his trot is now at the beginning of our lessons, which is a fantastic improvement. So hopefully that was useful for you and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.